We were tasked with proposing college affordability, and we had a little bit of a struggle. I can't lie about that. We came at making college more affordable for a lot of different venues and avenues. We looked at a lot of different options. We had some difficulty with that, but then we powered through, and we think we came up with a good option. Student debt is in crisis today, and I think everyone knows that. And we care about our BGSU students. We want to make sure that we don't contribute to the problem. So what we did is really thought about the importance of trying to keep students out and graduating in 4 years or even less. So how we came about with this affordability measure is that College Credit Plus program, to try to utilize that. That's a program that high schoolers can take college credits, and they can come to BGSU with maybe a semester or two already done, and this will facilitate them being done in 4 years. So in Challenge the Process, that practice that we looked at in our book, the CCP program really works well, already does this as a great model, and what we're proposing is that we already take this amazing program that BGSU CCP's programs does already, and we want to parlay it throughout the state to help everyone throughout the state to utilize CCP in an effective, intentional, methodical way. So we were looking at when John Fisher and President Rogers came to speak with us and looked at the BGSU strategic goals, we were looking at Objective 5. We thought that objective that they discussed that day was in keeping what we're trying to do today, and it's really to enhance the quality and value of a BGSU education by trying to develop an organized academic financial infrastructure that ensures the university's short and long-term success. So we really want to advocate that BGSU CCP program for high school students is a way that we can utilize this and enhance this objective, because we want to make sure that BGSU students stay on track to graduate in 4 years. And then another objective that spoke to us the day that President Rogers and also John Fisher came is objective number 6, that we really want to raise BGSU's profile, and that we want to make sure the CCP program does this by recruiting better prepared students who also have some credits already earned, and then it will definitely ensure they graduate in 4 years. We're also proposing that we hire counselors, admissions counselors, advocates throughout the state and even at the high school level to ensure this.
So one of the things that we looked at was the data in relation to how often students actually graduate on time. And one of the mind-blowing stats that we came across was looking back at BGSU's 2013 cohort. Basically 31.2% graduate in 4 years. So when we're talking about affordability and we're talking about trying to keep everything affordable for a student that's coming to college, basically when only 1 in 3 graduates in 4 years, it's very alarming. Thank you. So how is BGSU doing? So the big thing that I want to make everybody aware of is BGSU is doing great, as best as they can in relation to the rest of the state. But there's definitely a crisis here. There's definitely some stats that back up, why college is so expensive. Well, if you're not here in 4 years, and we'll be talking about this in a little bit, it costs more the longer that you're here. So looking at the 4-year trends here, this is BGSU here, Ohio U, Kent State, University of Toledo, and the state of Ohio. So you can see that even the best out of that was still 70% or 62% if I remember right. And then even at the 6-year, looking at 6 years, only 54% are graduating on time. So again, this is not just BGSU, this is essentially a lot of the different universities in Ohio that are the same size and shape as BGSU. So basically there's definitely a crisis in relation to students actually graduating on time.
Because our project was affording college tuition, we wanted to quantify that a little bit. So we wanted to look and see what an extra year actually costs. And you'll notice in our graphic, you'll see almost double the amount of money on staying an extra year, and that's accurate. And we'll get into that here. We met with Sherry Stoll, and she provided us with some data, and over the last 5 years, on average, BGSU students graduate with $31,000 of debt. Best case scenario is that students will pay that back in 10 years. Realistically, it's probably up to 25 years, but paying that back in 10 years results in $8,500 in just interest. And so then that would take the total cost of tuition, fees, and interest up to $51,000. Staying that extra year adds to that debt, takes that average debt up to over $37,000, which causes over $10,000 of interest. When you add that to the lost income for a BGSU grad, that cost of just that one extra year is $109,000. So that adds up.
Okay, so what is College Credit Plus? Laura actually explained it a little bit in the introduction. But to find out more about BGSU's CCP program, we met with Interim Director Holly Cipriani, and we studied both the BGSU and the State of Ohio's CCP websites. And then we also spoke with the Vice President of Enrollment, Cecilia Castellano, Admissions Advisor Austin Flores, and Claire Hoover with Recruitment and Retention in the College of Education. We wanted to know what their thoughts were on the CCP program as a whole and what ideas they had that we could recommend for improvement. The College Credit Plus program is a statewide initiative to help students earn both high school and college credit together by taking courses from a public college or university. This opportunity is available to all students, whether they're public school students, whether they're private school students, or if they're homeschooled. The big difference is for public school students, their cost is completely enrolled in their school district, so it's covered by the school. Private and homeschool students do have to apply to the Ohio Department of Education to receive their funding, and then they still have to cover the cost of their textbooks. Let's see. No, you're good. Students have the choice of taking classes on any college campus, online, or at their local high school. The classes at the local high school can be dependent on whether or not the high school has worked with a local college like Bowling Green to become a partner school and to have their teachers become certified as adjunct faculty in order to teach the classes. As of the 2018-2019 school year, the CCP website does show that 24 area high schools are partnering with BGSU. And during the 2017 and 2018 school year, 12% of all Ohio 9 through 12th grade students did participate in CCP. Then in speaking to Claire Hoover, we were interested on what kind of impact CCP did have on student retention. And based on the data that she provided to us, we can see that from fall to spring, there is an 88% retention rate. But if any students are entering with CCP credits, that does go up about 6%. The big difference is from fall to fall retention. Students who are entering with at least some kind of CCP credit, there is a substantial increase in retention.
So my name is Laura Barnett, as I said before, and I have the honor and privilege of being an academic advisor in the College of Education. So I work almost on a daily basis with students who have already brought in CCP credit. And while it's a lot of fun, it also can be somewhat of frustration, just because if students are coming in with a certain mindset or they have a certain idea of how credits might transfer, sometimes if that's not necessarily true, there could be some tears, and that's just from the advisor. So, so we want to make sure that we want to get the word out there and be mindful and intentional and purposeful when we are helping our students choose CCP credit so they can actually come to college and graduate on time or even early. So some common myths of CCP. Number one, classes taken for CCP credit do not count in the GPA. Actually, this is a myth. As overall, the university only looks at credits, but I'm part of some prescriptive programs that actually I have to go hunting, unfortunately, for Fs and Ds. So I have to look at those in terms of eligibility for the Inclusive Early Childhood program. So a lot of things that folks have taken in 7th, 8th, 9th grade, they haven't done so well. I have to look at that, and actually it can impact them. So it's something we have to be careful about and mindful of, and letting our future CCP students know this. And I think we do a good job with that, especially the CCP office at BGSU and our BGSU admissions counselors, but we're hoping to make sure we spread the word throughout the state. Another myth is any credit taken through CCP will definitely count for credits towards a college major. Actually, this is a myth. I just met with someone, and actually we had a video from her. She transferred in 60 credit hours, so she thought she only had 2 more years at BGSU. She was wanting to go into the Inclusive Early Childhood program, and because she hadn't taken some of the courses we needed, it's now going to be 4 more years. So unfortunately, she decided to change her major. We looked at other options that are wonderful for her, and it all turned out great, mostly because of awesome advising. No, just kidding. But she's still with us and just really happy, but it's something we had to work through. Another myth is that CCP classes will seamlessly transition to upper level. For example, if you transfer in calculus through CCP, or AP, and then you go on to the next level calculus, Calculus 2, that class actually will make you cry anyways. But then if you have the CCP credit of 1310, sometimes you don't have the skills to do better in the upper level class. So we just have to watch that and be mindful of that, and just kind of work with our students and let them know that. And lastly, hours transferred in guarantees a shorter time to graduation. This can be a myth, depending on the major. For example, our prescriptive majors in ed, this is sometimes not the case, but other majors I advise, like human development and family studies, it's definitely the case. So we just have to work with the student and let them know ahead of time, so we don't have crying in the office. Oh, again, that would just be me, so. Okay, so I have a couple case studies, and I apologize. We had some technology issues today, obviously. One of them is I had a couple videos that I had taped from some of my students who had direct positive and some not so positive impact at BGSU with CCP credit. But our first case study is Jacqueline. She transferred in 60 hours of college credit plus to BGSU. She had worked beautifully and carefully and mindfully and intentionally with our great BGSU CCP office, and subsequently she is only going to be graduating in 3 years and graduating early, so it's going to save her a lot of money, as our previous slides indicated. So this is kind of a jewel in our crown, and we want to make sure that we can do this as often as possible and take our great CCP program here at BGSU and make sure we can try to parlay that throughout the state. Okay. So here are some recommendations that we have. At the high school level, we really want to try to increase the transparency, the intentionality, being very methodical as we work with CCP students and parents. And our admissions office does an amazing job already, but they're overworked. We're hoping to help these poor folks out by actually hiring someone who can serve as an advocate to work with high school counselors, who can work with our admissions staff, work with parents and students to try to kind of bust through these myths, make sure that we are being intentional and purposeful in how classes are chosen so that when they come to BGSU, they will graduate on time. So here,
So we came up with some recommendations for CCP courses for middle school and high school students to enroll in. The first course on this list, UNIV 1310, this is for career awareness. And this is hopefully, if students participate in this, to prevent some of the major changes that do tend to delay students from graduating on time. So this is a recommended course to take first. We'd like to see more students enrolling in this at younger ages. And then the other courses on this list are pretty general and apply to most majors, so that if a student does take some of these and isn't quite sure of their major or changes majors later on, that these still count toward what they need. So this was just kind of a general list and our recommendations for what students should take for CCP.
This just is a 4-year pathway example. This is for intervention specialists, and we've been working on these in our office because we're trying to be intentional and purposeful when working with students, so we can plot out exactly what they have to do in 4 years and some classes that they recommend to take at CCP at the high school level so they can maybe get through most of their first year of classes, and again, to guarantee that they can graduate at least on time, if not early. So here are some recommendations for things that we can be doing at BGSU to facilitate this. We're posing that we would need to hire a CCP advisor advocate to travel the states, work with high school counselors, parents, and students as far as intentionally, mindfully choosing classes that will indeed help their path once they get to BGSU. Another thing that we're hoping for is more transparency with CCP pathways and majors at BGSU. We showed you a 4-year prototype to this. We're hoping we can make sure that we parlay that for all majors. We also are doing things like that right now, but we also want to make sure it's accurate and up to date, and sometimes that's hard to do. We also want to make sure we have a BGSU advisor in each major accessible to CCP students, so we can have that transparency even at the college level. And then the last thing that we're posing is a CCP revamp of website just to make it easier to navigate and make sure we update it. Okay. So in conclusion, some things that we want to make sure is that we're being purposeful, mindful, intentional as far as the choices of CCP courses at the high school level. We're hoping by helping students and school counselors and parents to do this, that they will come in with classes that will indeed count and that will at least make sure they graduate on time, therefore saving them money and making college more affordable. So we really want to make sure that we're intentionally helping students, guide them through the pathways so they can graduate on time or early. And then it will meet an affordable college experience.
And finally, we just want to thank and acknowledge all of the different people that assisted us with our project, from Suri Stoll all the way down to the students that interviewed us, that allowed us to interview them for the case studies, as well as the creative manager who very nicely designed the in and out and for logo for us, as well as the other graphics that were in the presentation. And I think that's it.
Thank you.